Hey everyone, this is Lauren Stein over here at Acctivate. I am the manager of implementation, and today we're going to be covering what's new in Acctivate 10.1. Since we're covering new features, we're going to switch up how we present today. The majority of this webinar is going to consist of live demonstrations of the new features. We have some customers running this new version already, so let us know if you'd like to update. Submit a support request and our support team will schedule upgrades accordingly prior to the general release. To get started, we'll take a look at the lookup improvements. Alright, so we've added some functionality, specifically multi-field searching capabilities. So now when you look up for instance, a customer, you can see that there are bold fields with icons. So we've got customer, activity, contact, location, that's ship to location, and also product in the customer lookup window. And so what these fields do is it gives you the ability to search information for multiple fields to look stuff up in Acctivate. One of the major reasons we added this capability was to negate the need to continually change the field you're searching to be whichever value you're looking for. So now if you've got customer up, you don't have to toggle to company name or state or something if you wanted to search in those fields as well as the customer name. We're going to stay on this bold section, but I wanted to note that the functionality that I'm about to cover, the new search options, are available in the non-bold fields as well. But when you're on a bold field, it'll actually search multiple columns in the lookup window. So we've removed begins with and contains from the search window. The user can enter double quotes, a plus sign, and a negative sign to find specific information, just like most web search engines. So if you were searching for a specific phrase or something, you could do and me. So we have a customer that has and me in it, or some other phrase that you're looking for, whether it be customer or product, and you can add those single quotes and it'll just search that. Or if we remove the quotes, it'll look up, as you can see, it's looking in the customer name, company, city. It also looks in state, phone number, and you can see the highlighted characters are what you're actually searching for. So, and me, the closest match is this Eloise and me customer. And then after that closest match, we'll show you matches that are within the search but don't match it exactly. So Adams and Company has and in it, and it has me in the city. And so that pulls up. So the first section is going to be, everything is sorted by alphabet. So the first section, we only have one, so it's just, the E. And then the second section is Adams to Superior. And then the third sort and so forth is based on, maybe not specific matches, but something that does fall in within those limits. And again, if you add the quotes, it searches for just that specific phrase. And so for the plus and minus signs, you can search for, let's say you're on the phone with a customer and you didn't quite catch what the customer name was, but it's a supply house, and that you don't know exactly which one of these customers it falls into, but you do know that their phone number ended in 1212 or 00. So now this opens up your search. You can do 1212, and then so these are supply companies, or you can say that, okay, well, maybe it's, based on the phone number as well. And then we can also do, I know it's in Arlington, but I only want to see Texas. So you do, minus VA for the Virginia one that we had. Or you can say, I only want Texas. And then your other Texas customers will show up as well based on that match for the TX. So if you still wanted to do begins with, you could use a wildcard. So the wildcard is going to be an asterisk. The asterisk would signify where you would want the wildcard to look for that value. So for example, searching A, and the customer would return any customer record with an A in it. Changing it to an A star is going to give you anything that begins with an A. So whether that's the customer name itself begins with A, or the company name has a word that begins with A, or the city, or the state, and so forth. But the closest matches, again, are going to be at the beginning. And then we can change it to asterisk A to be things that are ending in A. So we don't have any customer names that end in A except for this, because we do the California customer. But then it pulls up the, the states that end in A. We even have a country for USA and so forth. So this just gives you the functionality, or more functionality, as if you were searching, online. It's the same kind of operators that you would use. And again, the sort is going to be the best match on top, followed by the next best match, and then everything is going to be sorted alphabetically within that search. So just to get an overview of the lookup, again, the bold is going to be the multi-field, and the non-bold is going to be the, you're only going to be looking in that specific field, but whatever you search is only going to be looking in there. But you still have the ability to use those operators even if you're not using the multi-field search functionality. And we'll just take a look at another, the product lookup window, just to show you the difference. So each window is going to show you different multi-field values. So we've got product, just for the product. And then the customer had a whole bunch of different multi-field, and then the purchase order as well has a bunch of different ones. So like you can look up by vendor, by product, by sales order number. The by sales order number is only going to be if you have the purchasing wizard, and so you've got purchase orders created from a sales order. So a lot of our updates from 10 to 10.1 were based on customer feedback. So you responded to the new features that we added, and we listened. So let's go ahead and also look at a configuration manager. We have a default workflow after reschedule option, which is new. So if you go to sales order, order options, now you have this rescheduled order default workflow status. This definitely comes in handy when utilizing the sales order management tab in business alerts. So you can mass schedule orders with the status of backordered, and the workflow status will be updated at the same time to, it's either going to be ready to pick or not ready to pick based on the specific workflow code. So as you can see, we just have the in or R statuses here available. If you have custom workflow statuses that you wanted it to default to, the available ones here would need to have in or R. Again, and we'll take a look at the workflow status here. So the status I'm talking about is right here. So it's going to be in or R. Those are the available ones. So even if you're going back to an order that was back ordered and you wanted to change it to scheduled, the workflow status will now update to what was selected there in Configuration Manager. So we'll open a back ordered order. We'll set the status to scheduled. It goes through, checks the availability, and now you can see the workflow status is ready to pick. Because I know we have a lot of customers that are rescheduling orders that were partially shipped, and so they really wanted it to default to a specific workflow so they can just jump right in and not have to update the workflow status manually or through the mobile devices. Also, based on our other customer feedback from version 10, we've added a toggle to show ordered versus scheduled amounts for the sales orders. So when you change the order to show scheduled amounts, the total and line amounts will only show what's scheduled. And then if you move it back to ordered, the total and line amounts go back to the ordered quantity. So we'll take a look at this order here. And so right now you can see that it's showing the ordered total. So all the line amounts are going to be based on this ordered column. And the order total is based on what was ordered. So if we toggle this to scheduled, now the line amounts show based on what's scheduled versus what's ordered, and you can also see the total down here is changing to be what's scheduled. And then to toggle back to the ordered totals, you just uncheck that, and now it's back to ordered, and you can see that it was line 6 that you can see the change in. So we'll go to toggled and then ordered. So this was removed from version 9 to version 10, and we had a lot of customers give us feedback wanting to see this functionality added back. So we listened, and we have now added it back to the window. Also, we had some feedback about the movement of the terms, the payment terms. So we had a customer or a couple of customers that wanted to not only see it on the detail screen, but also on the payment tab. So now we've added this payment terms to the payment tab. So if your customer is, maybe credit card only or net 30 and you wanted this one to be credit card, while you're entering the credit card information, you can just toggle the terms right here instead of having to go back to the detail window to toggle it here. Just kind of keeps all the payment information in one section if you needed to change it while you're entering the order. Another feature added via customer feedback is the ability to automatically schedule received special order lines. In the past, the users have had to manually schedule or reset the schedule for special order sales orders. Now Acctivate will do this for you. So let's create a new sales order for Apex. And we'll add a special order only item. And we'll hit save. So you see the line type is S. Of course, if you're special ordering a product that you just keep in stock, you can toggle that line type to be S. And then let's create the special order PO. So we got the vendor, the requested price, the specific warehouse we want it to be delivered into. Everything looks good. Create POs. And now when we go to that PO, we'll go ahead and click receive and post. And before I refresh the sales order, I just wanted to point out that it is back ordered right now. So if we go back to the sales order, when it refreshes, now the scheduled quantity automatically updates based on what you received, which was the 1 unit. So that, that's going to really help out our customers that use the special order purchasing wizard because, like I said a moment ago, you're not going to have to go back and manually reschedule that information based on what you've received for those special orders. So that'll definitely save some time for the people that are, posting those receipts for special orders and go ahead and get that inventory out of your warehouse and to your customer. We also had a few customers wondering why the workflow status would change when printing pick tickets in a batch, but you didn't have that option to automatically change it when you're printing it from a specific order. So in 10.1, the workflow status will update to pick in progress after printing the pick ticket on an individual order. So if we print the pick ticket, now you can see the workflow went from ready to pick to pick in progress without us having to change anything manually on that sales order. So that's going to work kind of like whenever you're doing print pick tickets from the sales menu. So you have that option to set the workflow status for all those pick tickets that you printed. So now it will update the individual sales orders if you're printing them from the sales order individually. It's just going to be pick in progress. Also, when creating invoices, you'll now see the weight of items on the Create Invoice window. This is going to help our customers if they're adding shipping manually to the invoice from that create invoice window. Let's open up a sales order that's got multiple lines so we can see how this adds up. It's going to be an aggregate weight. So we see the weight of 150.57 and 107.50. When we hit create invoice, now we have this weight of 258.07, which is the aggregate of both of those lines on the sales order. So now, if you're not using our shipping workstation integration and you're adding shipping charges to the invoice order window, this will give you a good overview of, okay, well, if we're shipping 258 pounds, then, we're probably going to want to charge a decent amount for shipping because we're going to be paying a lot for that to get that shipped to our customer. So we'll go ahead and create the invoice. Okay, and for our customers utilizing custom fields on sales invoices, you'll now be able to view and modify the fields from the View Invoice window. Previously, users were only allowed to view and edit directly from the sales order and were blocked from modifying this information on the invoice, because the custom field data was only copied over to the invoice window from the sales order, so you couldn't see it on the invoice at all. It was really just used for reporting purposes if you wanted to drop that custom field on an invoice report. So now it's not only available from the View Invoices window, so if we view this invoice and go to the Custom tab, you have the ability to not only see but also modify these custom fields. So I've got this verified checkbox, so you can check it or uncheck it or whatever custom field that you may have on a sales invoice. And this doesn't necessarily have to reside on the sales order window like it did in previous builds. So previously, you would have your custom fields in the additional info tab on the sales order. And if you matched exactly the setup of these fields on the sales invoice setup for custom fields, then that information would be copied over into the view, so you could easily drop that information into an invoice report or something like that. And then now you have the capability to add that information directly to the invoice without having to rely on copying it on the sales order. Or if you are, if your company requires information on a custom field on a sales order and you forgot to enter that information, but that same field exists on the invoice, once you've invoiced it, you can go ahead and add that information to the invoice directly instead of having to void the invoice, edit the sales order, add the custom information, and then recreate the invoice. Okay, and another major new feature is the ability to create a credit memo from a sales order. Doing so will copy over the items listed on the order and create the credit memo to match that order. The user can adjust as needed in case the customer doesn't need a full credit. So let's look at an order that, okay, this one does have multiple lines. So we'll do create credit memo. And so you can see that the credit memo matches the sales order that you created it from exactly, down to the warehouse, the quantity, everything matches except it's all negative. So now you can create credits from sales orders, which is something that we've been asked for quite a while because I know that QuickBooks allowed that functionality. So now we also allow that functionality in Acctivate. So you don't have to create a credit and then have the sales order open behind it, so you can make sure that the credit memo matches everything. All right, and then we've also got an update on the sales order management window. So if you go to Business Alerts, Sales Order Management, now you can print forms from the sales order management. So based on what you've selected, whether it's orders that are partially scheduled, fully scheduled, you can print the order, you can print the pick tickets or pick pack, and you can also print the bill of lading or pack list. And again, this is going to be based on what you've selected. So we've got A1509, 1513, 1522, 1523, and 1524 based on what I've selected. And then now you can print out the pick tickets, and that will update that to pick in progress. As you can see here, the workflow status is now pick in progress. So this actually gives you the functionality to not only print pick tickets based on a specific workflow status, but you can also filter on a specific salesperson, a due date, which is going to be based on the requested or ship date, based on the type of order, because again, it's going to be solely based on what you've selected in the sales order management is going to be what prints here. So that is going to be a major improvement for a lot of our customers, because we do get a lot of customer feedback asking why we can't print pick tickets based on a specific workflow status. So now this gives you the capability to do that, which I don't know if we have any ready to pick. Okay, we do. So you can filter on ready to pick, filter grab a couple of these, print pick ticket, and it'll print those based on what's currently available to schedule. And then now you can see that those are out of this filtered sales order management window because the status has now changed to pick in progress. So we've got a little bit more automation now in 10.1. Okay, and then so let's take a look at some of the improvements for the products. Some of our customers will modify the product ID, and when you modified that product ID in previous versions, it wouldn't automatically update the open documents for that product. So we're going to open up product A121, and you can see here there's some purchase orders and sales orders that are open. So now in version 10.1, if we make this A121-2, it asks, you want to change the product ID from A121 to A121-2. Hit yes. And when you save, do you want to update open transactions with this new product ID? Hit yes. And if we open up one of these sales orders, now A121 is -2 instead of A121, which is what it was originally. And just to kind of show you how it automatically does that, after you click yes, we'll change it back to A121, hit save, update open transactions, yes, and now this sales order is back to the original A121. All right, and we also had a couple of customers that are changing the PO, the purchase order description for products, rather than using the product description that's assigned to that item. So now on the receipt window, it will show that updated product description. So if we open up purchase order 1210, we'll hit edit, and we'll make label maker. Maybe it's not our regular label maker, maybe it's label maker 2.0. And instead of updating the description for the item and updating the purchase order, we're going to just do it directly on the purchase order. So if you needed to add extra notes or something like that to the description to give your warehouse some information or your vendor some extra information, you can do that on the purchase order. And so when you hit receive, you can see that the label maker is now showing 2.0 instead of the product description. So in older versions, the receipt window would show the product description rather than what was actually on the purchase order. So we're just trying to make everything flow and everything match throughout the process a little bit easier. Okay, so we've also added a Webstore automatic sync function. We've been getting asked about this for quite a while, and now we have added that functionality to our Webstore integration. This feature is definitely going to come in handy for our customers utilizing multiple web stores, especially if they're exporting inventory availability. So say you've got two separate carts and both export item availability. In version 10, you would have to run the Webstore sync to update that item availability manually. So let's say somebody ordered something from your Magento site and you're exporting availability to both your Magento and retail or wholesale or whatever the other cart you have. So that's not going to update that other cart item availability because, you have to manually sync those to get that information to come in and then export back out to the web stores. So in 10.1, you'll be able to set the rate at which the web store syncs. So when they order from one store, based on this sync frequency, the availability will be updated for both at that interval. You do still need to have the web store sync window open, but you no longer are forced to press this sync now. And the different frequencies are once, so if you still want to do it manually, you can just set this to once. You can set it to every hour, every 30 minutes, every 15 minutes, or every 5 minutes. If you have a high volume of web store orders, I would recommend doing at least every, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour, or 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and an hour. If you do it every 5, and again, you've got a large volume of web orders, then that may slow the process down a little bit because it's going to be almost like it's trying to continually sync with the web store. But again, so you have to have this web store sync window open. You could leave it open on the server just so it continually syncs based on this interval. But we definitely recommend doing this on a workstation. So this way, any errors thrown on the web store will be caught and you'll be able to resolve them so you can continue the web store sync. Because with this auto sync, errors are actually going to stop the automatic sync intervals because that tells Acctivate that something needs to be resolved before it can successfully sync that information. But if you get any warnings, the warnings aren't going to stop the sync frequency from running, only errors. So we definitely recommend doing it on a workstation, but you do have the option of logging into Acctivate on the server and keeping this web store sync open just to continually sync to the web store based on the frequency that you've set. And we've also added another web store template, so it's SparkPay. So if we go to configure the web store, create a new template, we'll just name it Spark. Hit next, and then you'll get this list of our integrated shopping carts. It's going to be in this drop down, and now you'll see SparkPay. So you'll add in your source URL and your access token and work with the support team on getting that template set up for you. Now, let us know if you work with other web stores that aren't available in those default templates that we have, like Magento, Volusion, BigCommerce, Core Commerce. Our development team continually looks at new sites based on customer feedback. In some cases, the native template will suffice, which is where you have a web store that's not available there, but it does export information in a way that Acctivate can read. So you can kind of configure that to be a quote-unquote custom web store template. But other times we're able to create a new default template for your web store like SparkPay. So just let us know if you work with those other web stores that aren't available, and we'll take a look at that and see if it would be an option to add to our list of default templates. Okay, so moving right along, let's take a look at an additional pricing option. So now in version 10.1, we've got customer-specific pricing for price categories. So now you'll be able to apply different prices per price category for each customer. So say you have a customer that gets retail pricing for most of your products, but they get a special price on a certain product group that doesn't fall under the retail pricing. These groupings are called price categories, and you would assign those to groups of products. And now you'll be able to assign specific pricing per customer per price category on the customer prices tab. So this gives you the ability to give your retail customers the opportunity to get maybe wholesale pricing on certain groups of items. And this new pricing option is still considered customer specific, so it will override the product specific and or product price category pricing as before. So if you look at our customer price selection, how we choose the customer price on a sales order, the contract pricing is first, then it's customer specific pricing, which is going to be like right here we've got a special contract for A121. And then if you wanted to, you could add B10 would have its own specific price, maybe not related to a contract. And now you'll also have the capability of adding, a specific price for a price category. Or you could say that, we've got a specific price for supplies for this supplies price category, but this customer has a default price code of D, and paint has some pricing set up for another price code, so you can assign the other price code. So this customer Apex, even though their default price code is D, it will use the S price code for any product that's in the paint category. And if you have any questions on like the in-depth pricing options, we do have a webinar on pricing options. Obviously, that doesn't include this new price category option, but we will be adding an article and a little blurb on our customer price selection article on how this is going to work and where it goes in the hierarchy. Because again, this is going to be considered customer specific because it's still going to be, related to a specific customer rather than something in, maybe price code maintenance or something like that, or on the product. Okay, and since we're on the customer window, let's go ahead and take a look at the new notes interface. So in previous versions, the notes were just, it was just a grid right here, and it showed you each note, and you had to hover over the note or the line to see what the full text was within that note, or you had to, double click on it to open it up to see it. So now the notes have a preview. So if you kind of like our email window, so if you click on the specific note, you'll see this window over here that previews the whole note rather than having to open or hover. And from the customer window, we've also got this, if you wanted to create a new note, we've got this new button right here to create a new one. If you wanted to delete one, you would just highlight it and click delete. If you want to edit it, you can either highlight it and click edit or double click on the note and it'll pull up here. And as you can see that whenever you open it, it actually opens in another window. So it's kind of like a pop-out window, and it gives you the ability to modify the information and also be able to look around in other windows and Activate while you have this note window open, rather than being forced to edit the customer, edit the note, save everything, go to some other window to get more information, go back to the customer, edit the note, add that information, etc. Now you can just have it open and you can go through here and maybe you want to go to Bayshore and take a look at that. So we've still got this customer account, it's linked to Apex, but we're able to take a look at other stuff in Acctivate. And also, so if you have a follow-up by incompleted, we're going to go ahead and save and close here. So if we hit new and we go, get in touch with the customer. Maybe you didn't want to do a follow-up by, so you would just save it. So now when you have the note that doesn't have a follow-up by, it just has the added by information above it. But if you look at the other ones, you can see that, these are all completed. So you have this huge icon that says, this one's been completed. We don't have to worry about that anymore. So if we add a follow-up by and a date, we'll save and close. And now the follow-up, it shows the user that's supposed to follow up here. And also from the customer window, we have this create note, which I believe is also on the business activity window, but most of the windows are going to have this new delete and edit that are across the top of the notes section. And just like for related items for business activities, you'll also be able to move this around. So let's say I accidentally put this on Apex, but I wanted to change where this shows and move it to another customer or another part of Acctivate instead of on this customer record. So you can change, here, I did this, there's a button down here that says move to, and you can change that to a business activity if you have the business activity module. Customer account is going to be where we were looking at right now. It's this main customer window. Customer credit is going to move that to the customer credit tab for that specific customer. customer location is going to be ship to location, invoice, order, PO, product, track and trace. Based on what you select here, you can say customer credit. Say maybe we were on Apex, but we want to put this on Anton. So if we save and close, it goes away from this Apex, and now if we open Anton and we go to the credit window, now we have that note. So, you know, if you mistakenly added it somewhere, you can move it around. And we absolutely love all these new features for notes internally. I wish I could show you Alterity's internal Acctivate just to see how much we use notes, because this has really helped us help everything flow for us internally. It's been really awesome. And then also on this notes window, you can see this little attach button. So you can attach documents to a note. Now, that being said, this in no way is a replacement for SmartVault, as the attachment is linked to the note rather than a specific entity like customer or product. And the attachments on notes aren't going to show in QuickBooks like when utilizing SmartVault integration. So you can kind of think of it like an email attachment. So it's just going to be related to that specific note, again, not customer. So if you have SmartVault and you attach something to the customer in SmartVault, in QuickBooks, you're going to have access to that document. This, again, is just going to be related to that specific note, not related to a specific customer. Because as you saw before, you know, we can move this note around to other customers. And also, there's no specific permission to block certain documents like you would get with the SmartVault integration. So you can't block people from using notes or seeing specific things for notes. Okay, and then we'll save and close that. And we'll just take a look at how this looks on the reminders. All the other windows are pretty typical. I mean, on the product window and everything, you know, it's just going to be the note itself and the preview. But on the reminders, now you see the icon on what it's linked to. It just kind of looks fancier. But they still work the same as they did previously. So if you complete it, it's going to go off of your list, just like it would in previous versions. It just looks different with the preview window and those pretty little icons. Okay, so moving past notes, we also have made some email improvements. And one of those improvements is to be able to manage your message templates in one place. So now we have this message templates in the file menu. So you can add or modify your message templates instead of having to go to, let's say, the sales order window and you do email order and then select email templates and then manage templates, all these different steps to get to this message template management section. So now you can get there from the file menu. And also we had email templates were available to use on invoices, but we were utilizing the orders view, so you didn't get all the fields available in the invoice view. So now we've added an invoice template, which uses the invoice field. So if we select invoice, we'll say sent or shipped or something like that. And then in the body, you can do insert field, and it's an alphabetical list of fields that are available. So, you know, for invoices, we have amount paid, AR account, you know, the B's are bill to address, balance. You know, we have the invoice date, invoice number, if there's a job related. We have all this information that you can take a look at and add to this template instead of having to go to our help site and see which are the available fields. So you could say we've sent invoice number to you, the tracking number is, and then you go insert field, tracking number, or you can just manually type the field. let us know if you have any questions. And this will be available to all users if you check this box, and then also it's going to be available from the invoices. So we'll hit save, and so now we've got this invoice template. So if we go to an invoice, email invoice, I don't know if this invoice has tracking information. Oh, it does. Okay. And then you'll enter in the two. This one didn't have any of the, it didn't have a contact email address, so it didn't pre-fill that in, but it will pre-fill that in based on what's on the invoice. And so now, I mean, you can still go to manage templates here to manage that. I mean, we didn't take that functionality away. But now we've also got insert and replace. So what insert and replace does is insert will add whichever template you choose to the email. It'll add a subject line when the email is a new one. And then if there's already information listed in the email, insert will add to that content. So if we do invoice, it pre-fills it in based on what the template says. We've sent this invoice number to you. The tracking number is this. Let us know if you have any questions, and then the email signature. We've also got replace. So what this is it will replace the body of the email with whichever template you choose. So with this functionality, you can actually modify the template and replace what was shown earlier with the newly updated template, or if you're responding to an email, it'll remove what was in the body and it'll just put in what the email template was. So let's manage the template and say, okay, so it says we've sent and then just an invoice number, but we want it to say invoice number. So we add invoice number and we hit save. And we go back here and we go to replace invoice. And do you want to reset the change, or do you want to reset changes made to the subject and body? Yes. So now it replaced what we had in there and it added that new, we've sent invoice number B3332Z to you. The tracking number is this. And just to show you how the insert works, if you had maybe multiple templates or there were other emails in the thread and you just wanted to insert instead of replace everything, you can go to insert, select your other template, hit invoice, and it adds it to the template. So now we've got it here twice. But we do have some customers that utilize multiple email templates whenever they're, processing these emails. And so that'll give you the ability to easily do that without having to manually copy or override everything based on what you're selecting. Also, we added the ability to drag and drop emails onto, let's say, customer, without having to be in edit mode. Now, I don't have Outlook on my VM to show you that right now, but if I did, I would just click on the email from Outlook, drag it over into this email tab, and when I let go, it'll add this email to the email tab without having to press edit, and then drag and drop, and then save. But again, this is only going to work if you have Outlook on your computer. If you don't have Outlook, it's only going to show the emails that are sent from Acctivate here, because you can't drag and drop if you don't have the Outlook. And also another feature that we added is the menus now group based on, so if you wanted to email the order or email a sales order, when you click the drop down, now it groups based on printing versus emailing. So you can print order or print order with components, or you can email the order or email order with components. In previous versions, you would have print order, email order, print order with components, email order with components. And so now it groups it based on the functionality and then based on the report. And so you'll see that in the other windows as well. And it just makes it a little bit clearer for the user to select, what they're going to do, if they're going to be printing versus emailing. And I personally really like the look and feel of this. I think the separation works really well. because it was kind of confusing to have print and email right next to each other for the same one. You know, people would see this drop down, at least new customers would see this drop down, and it would just be like so many options. You know, it's what do I choose? I don't even know where to begin. So now it at least breaks it out between printing and emailing here on these drop downs. All right, now let's take a look at report filters for dates. We have added some filters. So let's go ahead and open the completed orders report selection criteria. So now the date completed, we have this, last, and specific, week, month, and quarter, as well as year. So you can specify based on the filters themselves, and you can also tell Acctivate which specific week, month, quarter, or year to use, regardless if it shows in the dropdown. Let's do specific week, and then now in the value 1 you'll see a year's worth of weeks. So 2016 week 20, 2016 week 10, and then it goes all the way down to 2015 week 21. Well, let's say for some reason we want to go even further back than what's there, so we do 2014 week 20, and if we preview the report, it's going to show us week 20 of 2014 for completed orders. So we've got 5/16 through 6/11, I believe was the last one. Yeah. And this works for, we've got the regular all, but we've got this week, this month, this quarter, this year, last week, last month, last quarter, last year. The quarters would be really handy as well if you're running quarterly reports. You can do, this one shows 2 years worth of quarters, but again, you can manually type in what you wanted. So it only goes back to 2014 quarter 2. We want to see 2014 quarter 1. So we do 2014 Q1. And so this will show you that quarter's information. And then again, we also had some feedback on last year to date versus last year month to date, and also month to date and year to date. So now we have broken those out into their own specific filters. So we've got month to date, year to date, last year to date, and last year month to date. And I know quite a few of our customers will be happy to see that. All right, and then now we've also got a new import template to import data. So if we go to File, Import Data, Inventory, Transfers. So now we will be able to import inventory transfers. This is specifically for companies utilizing multiple warehouses for items listed as maybe on the water or in transit as a separate warehouse record. So having a way to import transfers makes the process to transfer from on the water or in transit into your physical warehouse much easier once they arrive. So now you're not going to have to manually pull in each product that was on the water that's now in your physical warehouse into a transfer manually. So it works really well when you're receiving electronic notifications of items moving between these warehouses from your vendors. And you can also work with a support rep, or if you're still in implementation, to set up an Excel query on the database to pull receipt information if you're not receiving these electronic notifications, in order to set up an inventory transfer import rather than creating it manually in Excel. So you can do an Excel query on a specific receipt, and then you can use that information to create your inventory transfer from on the water to your physical warehouse. So for feature improvements, that is all that's going to be included in 10.1, but we do have some updated system requirements in 10.1. So once you update to 10.1, you'll be required to run QuickBooks 2008 or Enterprise 8.0 or later. We no longer will be able to synchronize with QuickBooks 2007 or earlier, which obviously if you're on anything before 2008, we definitely recommend updating, just because the functionality is going to be a lot better for you, and just the look and feel in general as well for QuickBooks. And also, I don't know if any of y'all are still running Windows XP, but it will no longer be supported in 10.1. if you are running XP and you have updated to our Service Pack 3, you would have seen a warning to notify users running XP to update their Windows environment, because in 10.1, Windows XP is officially blocked due to us upgrading to Microsoft.NET 4.5. This cannot be installed on Windows XP. So if you still have employees running XP, now is the time to start thinking about updating to new Microsoft Windows versions. Internally, we updated to Windows 10, and I gotta tell you, it's awesome. I absolutely love Windows 10. So if you're hesitant on updating and you have the opportunity to go to Windows 10, I would definitely do that. And also on our help site, we've updated the help site to have a more inclusive training page to include specific tasks to complete for new customers or new employees that you've hired, if for our existing customers. So each task is linked to specific step-by-step instructions. So let me open the help site. And we'll go to getting started, and also training is a drop down now. Earlier you kind of had to dig for it or just go to the getting started and then click on training. And so you see on the right side we've got the specific sections, but also it talks about what's a good way to go through these. And if you click on, let's say, product information, which the icons match Acctivate. If you go to product information, it gives you information on the products as well as a checklist on tasks on what to do. And if you click on one of these, so like create a new product, if we click on that, it takes us to a step-by-step. This is how you create a new product. And then you can go back and, you can run through those tasks. Now, this is just a tiny, tiny portion of what we're doing to the help site. We have tasked the entire implementation and support team with adding content to the site. And to light a fire under everybody, we've added an incentive for the one who creates the most. By the end of the year, we're going to give them a prize. And we're actually just under halfway through our goal, and we haven't even reached June, so I definitely say it's working. We are continually adding content to our help site. If you can't find something or the article just simply doesn't exist, let us know and we'll create it, because that's what our help site's for. We want to make it easy for customers to be able to research any question they may have and get answers quickly. Also, our development team is already getting excited about 10.2 features as well. We're working on adding new features like these in smaller updates rather than putting them out in major releases only, like we did from version 9 to version 10. So it gives everyone more of an opportunity to send in necessary feedback to keep Acctivate up to date and satisfying our customer base. So we invite you to send in your enhancement request to our support team by creating support requests and letting us know what your feedback is. So we know what you're looking for and we can see if it's something that would be feasible to add to Acctivate. Thank you for your time today. I hope you enjoyed seeing the new features in 10.1. and I hope you enjoy utilizing them once we release that to everybody. Have a great day.